The suffering of grief. On September 4th, my life changed in an instant. What was supposed to be a simple family gathering turned into a nightmare, one that I have struggled to understand and process. My younger brother, who had been with me through many difficult times, was murdered in front of me and my son. We had spent much of our lives apart, abandoned as children, separated in foster homes. I was adopted at 11, and my brother was bounced between 15 different foster homes. But we reunited when I was 16, and from that moment, we were inseparable. I thought that the hard part of our lives were behind us, but fate had other plans. The tragedy occurred at a Labor Day event on our father's side of the family. It was meant to be a day of celebration, but things quickly took a violent turn. Our cousin, who was 40 years old, got into an argument with me about how to play with my 1-year-old son. He had carelessly put his foot to my son's bottom, causing him to fall and hit his head. As a protective younger brother would, he stood up for me. But what happened next was beyond belief. My cousin left the scene and returned with a gun and shot my brother in the chest. I can still remember holding him, watching his eyes roll back, praying desperately for him to survive. But my brother took his last breath in my arms, and the pain from that moment never left me. I became cold, consumed by grief and anger. I wanted revenge to somehow make him pay, but that desire ate away at me for a long time. The suffering didn't end with his death. The lack of justice and cover-up by our father's side of the family left me in a state of hopelessness. They claimed that it was self-defense, but I knew it wasn't. I carried this unresolved pain for a year, letting it fester in my heart. It wasn't until I received acceptance at Spalding University that I began to see a glimmer of hope. Slowly, things started to change. I entered therapy to help me deal with my grief, and slowly I began to regain a sense of control over my life. In my journey through grief, I've turned to my faith to help me cope. In the Bible, Jesus teaches us to forgive others, not because they deserve it, but because we need it for our own peace. In Matthew 18:21-22, Peter asks Jesus, "How many times should we forgive someone?" And Jesus responds, "Not 7 times, but 77 times. Forgiveness does not come easy, especially when it feels like justice has not been served. But I understand that holding on to anger will only keep me trapped in the pain. Through prayer, I have tried to find peace in knowing that my brother is in a better place, free from the suffering of this world. The course readings and discussions have helped me process grief in different ways. The concept of suffering and being a part of the human condition, as discussed in class, resonated deeply with me. Suffering is something that everyone faces in different forms, and it shapes who we are. Theories from Viktor Frankl, who wrote about finding meaning in suffering, helped me begin to look at my loss not just as a tragic event, but as some point of growth. Frank believed that we cannot avoid suffering, but we can choose how we respond to it. In my case, I chose to hold on to my faith in Jesus, believing that this suffering, though painful, can be transformed into strength. This idea is also supported by the PowerPoint presentations on coping mechanisms for trauma. I have learned that while grief may never fully disappear, the way I cope with it can evolve, allowing me to heal over time. As I reflect on my personal beliefs and the purpose of human existence, I understand that life is a journey filled with both joy and pain. I believe that suffering, though unavoidable, has the potential to shape us into stronger, more compassionate individuals. Through suffering, we can find purpose and meaning, much like Viktor Frankl's notion about discovering meaning through adversity. I also believe that human beings are meant to love and support one another, and that through connection, we can navigate the difficult moments of life together. The place of suffering in human existence is not to be minimized nor ignored, but rather acknowledged as a part of growth. While the pain of losing my brother will never fully leave me, I have come to accept that it is a part of my story. And it shapes how I interact with others and how I see the world. I choose to hold on to my faith in Jesus. Through the love of God, I can heal this suffering. I understand that grief may never completely vanish, But through therapy, faith, and time, I can live a life that honors my brother's memory and allows me to be present for my son. As I move forward, I continue to remind myself that suffering is not the end of the story. It's a chapter that, when embraced with grace, can lead to healing and growth. Thank y'all. That is my memoir for school, and I feel confident that I could do it on TikTok first. And this is my first time publicly speaking about it without the anger and all that. But thanks. Rest in peace, Aaron. I love you.